little bit about who this is presented by. This is part of the New Horizons Go-To webinar series. New Horizons is a worldwide training provider with flexible learning solutions covering a broad spectrum of topics taught by industry-leading instructors. Just a few quick facts about us. 2,100 classrooms with 2,400 instructors in over 56 countries and over 3 million student days of training per year. So once again, this is going to be taught by Phil. He will be our presenter. He is with Manager Mechanics. And Phil, it is all yours.
Well, Brian, thank you so much, and welcome, folks. Welcome about this topic today on how to become a CIO. Now, am I qualified to teach this? Well, I've been in the industry about 40 years now, all in high tech, whether it be in the high tech training end of it or IT management. I'm also a certified Agile project manager. I do a lot of training around that. One of my biggest clients lately was the Department of Defense, where I spent a lot of time working with management there, from the multiple CIOs, right down to the programmers. I'm a certified trainer for PMI, Project Management Institute, also a coach. As far as management goes, I've been off and on manager for, my God, almost 40 years, as high as a senior director for a very global organization. And I'm also certified on the IT MLP and IT MLE, which are certification classes taught from New Horizons. And it's one of the few programs out there that really certifies IT managers and preps them to go forward. And I also do a lot of coaching for Manager Mechanics. So let's get started. Initial thoughts. Now, you may ask yourself, there's about 4 of you out there, ask yourself, why do I want to be a CIO? Big question here. When I teach a lot of my management classes, the same thing. Why do you want to be a manager? There's a lot of trade-off. Why do you want to give up maybe a technical career and go into the management side of the house? So it's very personalized for every one of you. All 24 of you out there are probably asking yourself, well, I either want maybe more money or more prestige or move up the corporate ladder. Maybe I'd like to travel more for my company, live in a foreign country. Maybe I just want to, get my company to the next step. I really feel I can bring it to the next level. Excuse me, I got a little tickle here. And you ask yourself, what industry do I like to pursue now? You may be in an industry right now that is one you like, and you want to stay in that industry. You may want to find yourself getting ready to switch. I had a student lately say, I like what I'm doing, but I really want to get into the medical field. I want to work for a big hospital. I want to work for, their IT department. Now, some of the things you want to ask yourself is, what am I willing to get there? Now, this is kind of a funny question because you think of it, everything's a trade-off. Now, the more you move up the corporate ladder, the more effort you're putting in, the more time, the long hours. You may find that you've reached a glass ceiling with a bachelor's degree and you have to go back to school and get a master's. You may find out that you have a master's in programming, yet now you have to go back and get your MBA to really kind of break into the business side of the house. And then are you willing to go to get there? Now, first of all, travel. When you move up the corporate ladder, chances are you're going to be traveling more, visiting customers more, field offices, and so forth. I work with one company down on the South Shore here in Massachusetts that they really require people, once you start getting that level, to spend some time overseas. So you maybe go to Brazil for a year, or France, or Spain, or England. So you kind of ask yourself, on all these, how much effort am I willing to put into it? How much trade-off am I going to be doing? Am I willing to go back and get an MBA? Am I willing to maybe spend a year in Brazil and work with the sales team down there to move up the corporate ladder into this CIO role? Now, with all this, and you think about it, for me to get to any place from point A to point B, I need a map, a roadmap. So let's call this the initial thoughts, the long-term goals of my roadmap. The very first I have to decide is, what's the next step? If I really want to become a CIO, where am I today? Am I a programmer? Am I a tester? Am I on the help phones? Am I a maybe supervisor, manager? Maybe I'm a director today and I want to move up that next level. So first thing you have to lay out is a roadmap. Where am I today? What am I doing today? What do I like about my job? What I don't like about my job? What I like about my company? What I don't like about my company? And then a map on how do I get there for the next step, okay? Um, gives your professional life purpose and direction. Now, without any type of roadmap, when you start out, you're going to end up no place because you don't have that long-term goal. So I would suggest that if CIO is definitely where you want to be, and that's why you're on the thing today, that sit down with the CIO, your company or another company, or read CIO magazine. CIO magazine and websites, great resource. And find out what it takes to get there, how long maybe I spend as a supervisor, how long maybe I'll be as a manager, senior manager, director, CIO. So it may take me 10, 15, maybe even 20 years to get up to that ladder. But the roadmap helped me get there. It gives me purpose and direction. And this roadmap is going to provide me with the context for making career decisions. Now, every day when we wake up, we make decisions. Shave or not shave, white shirt, blue shirt, tie, no tie, whatever those might be. But at work, the decisions are coming down constantly. How to make technical decisions, how to make business decisions. Do I take on this project? Don't I take on this project? All these things give me purpose. And it also helps me decide, should I do this, and is it going to help me get to the CIO realm? And that roadmap is going to help reduce the chances of just going haphazardly moving from job to job. Now, again, I've got a lot of years in the industry, and I've seen a lot of my friends job hop. They'll go from one job to the other, and they think they're moving up the ladder, but they kind of end up being more lateral than anything else. So you have to ask yourself, if CIO is where I want to be, stay the course. Lay the roadmap out. Be flexible, of course. If the company goes under, or there's a massive layoff, or whatever those might be, you may have to move to a different town for family needs. Whatever those might be, kind of keep an eye on this roadmap so you know exactly where you're going to be going, and you have that stake in the ground. I think this is huge. This is one of my favorite topics, is finding that mentor. Now, a mentor could be a friend, could be a colleague, could be multiple people, could be a CIO, could be a vice president. It might be someone even outside your industry or outside your company. But that friend or that mentor is really going to help you navigate your career. So once you've got the roadmap laid out and you know exactly where am I going to go from here, and I may want to say this is my goal, a year to be here, 2 years I'll be at this step, 3 years I'll be here, so forth. So this could be, again, within the company, outside the company, a different industry, but find that mentor. And the mentors, you may find you have many of them. Look at your career set. Look at what you bring to the table. And you say, well, yeah, I'm a good programmer, but I really haven't had a lot of experience supervising people. So work with someone that in your organization, and again, within your organization or outside. You may say, they work well with people. They just have a good emotional intelligence about them to work well under pressure. So let that person, tell them what you want from them. So you may not find a mentor. You might find many mentors, each one with a different skill. Now, I tell a lot of stories when I teach, so I'll start with the story. When I moved into management from a technical role, I actually was an engineer, went up through that, became a trainer, and then from a trainer into management. And the first time my manager asked me to do a budget, I thought I was going to die. I had no interest in running the budget. I barely could, balance my checkbook. So I needed a mentor to help me learn how to do budgeting. So I found a woman up in finance, sat down. She taught me everything I needed to know about how to do a yearly budget, and also how to do salary planning and so forth. So she was my mentor for that. And she helped me get over that hump of stumbling, making a lot of mistakes. So finding that mentor, find a mentor for that skill that you lack. If you're, again, not very good at negotiating or handling conflict, find a person that's good with it and then go forth. And again, this could be someone outside. It could be a minister or a preacher, a rabbi, someone that would help you maybe sharpen your particular skill sets. Now, if we look at this second bullet here, helps you deal with tough business decisions. Now, if you think about where we're coming from, a lot of us come from technical world. We get into management. We spend years in management. Now, unfortunately, there's not a lot of training in management. If you get an MBA, they'll teach you a lot about reporting, how to interpret the reports and make decisions, but they don't teach you a lot about how to manage people. So with those tough decisions, find that mentor or help. And let's face it, we're coming from a technical world, a lot of us, into a business world. Different skill sets, different language, different way we work with people. So find that person that has a good business skill set and work with them as far as a mentor. Mentors will help you learn to navigate corporate politics. I have to laugh on this one because as you move up the ladder, unfortunately, you become more and more involved with company politics. And some of us have maybe a short fuse when it comes to politics. Some of us may be able to navigate well. But find someone, look around and go, they just get along with people. They can navigate the minutia from the stuff I needed to know. So find that mentor that will get through the corporate politics. And maybe just like a life coach, someone that will give you good career decisions. There'll be good contacts you have out there. One thing I tell everybody is as we go forward, we have a brand associated with us, and that brand is all around soft skills. Were they a nice person to work with? It's not usually around hard skills at all, being a programmer, a tester, a project manager. It's really around our soft skills. So once we develop these soft skills and people realize, hey, I want to go to work for Brian. Brian's a good guy. Wherever he goes, I'd probably follow him. So that branding will follow you through a career and become a draw for other people. Formulate your plan. Now, a goal without a plan is only a daydream. And if we think about that, we can all day long say, well, I'd really like a following, new car, new house. I want to move up the corporate ladder. But if I don't have that roadmap and have a really defined process to get there, a lot of mentors to help me get there, chances are you may not attain it. So it forces you to define the steps. Now, if you think about these today, there's tons and tons of certifications out there. I talked about that earlier one, IT MLP, which is one of the few IT certification for managers just in the IT field, which is taught through New Horizons. So that might be a great step to take to say, I want to become the first step to be a certified IT professional. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of us come from the technical world. We may have a technical degree, but when we move into management, we take off the technical hat most times, not all the times, but most times, and we put on the business hat. So the more we understand about business, the more we understand about the flow of data through our organizations and the impact of that data, the more we're going to be recognized as business people. And work, all the assignments to obtain this business goal. Now, we're definitely going to fail sometimes. A project may not be out on time, or we may find out that, we didn't cover all the bases, but we learn over time. Professional certifications, again, whether they be from Microsoft or New Horizons or anyone, look into those. Certifications go an awful long way. Interim promotions to pursue. Take on jobs that your manager might say, I need someone to take on this special project right now. Now, it may not be in your area. It may just be, if I succeed, it's great visibility. If I fail, I'm still going to learn a lot from it. So you may take on these special promotions, these special projects, and pursue those and gain that knowledge. Now, industry knowledge to learn. There's so much great industry knowledge out there, whether it be in the trade rags, magazines, online, websites, YouTube, you name it out there. There's a lot of it out there. So if you're interested in knowing more about the industry you're working in, not just the company you're working in, but why are we doing this? If you're working for a medical supply company, really knowing what's going on in the industry and politics around the medical supply industry. So learn as much as you can. Now, everything listed there requires a lot of effort and a lot of time. Um, Again, I tell a lot of stories. When I was probably in my early 50s, I found out that I needed a master's degree to really compete at a certain level with people out there. So I went back and got a master's degree. 3 years, a lot of work, weekends, nights. I was working probably 60, 80 hours a week just to, full-time job, taking care of the family, and also to get my degree. But was it worth it? Absolutely. Broke a lot of doors, opened a lot of doors for me out there. So you may want to say, once I have this roadmap, I formulated the plan, there's a lot of effort. And if you have your support of your family, your friends, your girlfriends, whatever it might be, this will get you to the next step. Now, traits that will accelerate your journey. Now, when I'm teaching management, I usually ask people, and I'll ask you guys to take for a second, think about all the people you've worked with, worked for, maybe admired, a minister, a preacher, a politician, maybe someone on the school board. Think of all the people that you know that's in that sort of management leadership role. And think about one trait that you admire about these people. Spend a second, just kind of think about that one trait. Now, usually when I run this exercise, it's about a half-hour exercise, run it with a lot of people. And when we're done, we've got a big list, probably 30, 40, things about what we admire about people. And when I look at that list, the one thing I've noticed over the years of doing this, they're all soft skills. They're not, oh, he was a better programmer, or she was a good tester, or she was a great project manager. It was about they worked well with people. They negotiated well. They knew how to navigate the minefields. They were always on time. They always had your back. I get that on every time I do this. They protected me. They looked out for me. They had an open door policy. I could always go to them. Maybe they were just approachable. Even though they may have been a hardcore driving person, I could still approach and talk to them on just about any subject. So think about these traits, and these traits are going to follow you around this personal branding of yours throughout your whole career. Now, years ago, you really got a job based on your IQ. How smart were you? We only hire really intelligent, smart people. I've heard that several times, and it usually drives me crazy because, to me as a manager, give me mediocre people as far as their IQ, but if they get along well, all the DNA matches, those are the people I can make superstars out of. So those are the people I want. So you're going to see a lot more companies out there that's really interested in your emotional intelligence. How well do you get along with other people? Now, if we look at the sort of EI or EQ, then we have this competency framework. First of all, we start out in the upper left-hand corner, being self-aware. Now, being self-aware is just being aware that you may have a certain trait. Now, I'm going to give you something about me. Get along well with everybody, easygoing, can tolerate an awful lot. But when I finally hit that wall, I get I get upset very quickly. So I know that about me. Now, it took years to figure this out, but I figured it out. So being aware that if I'm pushed to that level, I need to step away. I need to tell the person I'm working with, hey, we need to take a break. I'm not, my judgment is becoming cloudy. Being aware of that. Now, self-manage, right below that, is how do I manage that? Now that I'm self-aware that I have this weakness, then how do I become more self-managed of that? So, in my example, I'm sorry, I think things are getting a little emotional. I need to step away for a few minutes. And go out, take a deep breath, drink of water, calm down, go back into the meeting. So being self-managed, knowing that this is a trait about me that I need to work on. Now, I'll say that is phase one. being self-aware, self-managed. Now, phase 2 is a little bit harder. That's when you start taking the Myers-Briggs test. You learn more about yourself socially and how you impact others. Social awareness. That's really, am I empathetic? Am I aware of what's going on? If someone comes up to me and says, my mother-in-law, she's really sick, and it's really breaking the family up. I may need next week off to really help out with this. Now, are you the kind of manager who's going to say, yeah, I really understand where you're coming from. Let me know anything I can do to help out in any way. Being social aware. Or are you the kind of person as well, that's too bad, but the project's due Friday. Kind of being aware that they're people first, employees second. Being empathetic. That's just an example. And then relationship management. How do I know when I walk into a room how people look at me? How do I know that aura I give off? Being that's managed, that social awareness, how I get along with people, and the impact I have on people. Now, people that are very good at all these, I would say, are salespeople. Now, I worked in a sales organization for a long time for Wang Laboratories and Digital Equipment Corporation out in San Diego. And I ran across some salespeople out there that were phenomenal, very self-aware, self-managed. They were great relationship managers because they could just read the person, and they knew they had a certain traits that they had that was both positive and negative that they could control. So once you get to that point, in fact, for those people that watch TV, there's a TV show called The Big Bang Theory, and there's a character on there called Sheldon. Now, Sheldon is an extremely bright person, but has very, very little social skills. So would Sheldon make a great manager and CIO? Probably not. Even though he might know a lot about the technical side, he just can't get well with people. So the EI, or emotional intelligence, I find out that it's really looked at more today than anything else. And again, as a manager, when I'm hiring people, I want to hire people that have good DNA, that maybe are socially aware. They know how they impact people. Because in today's society, we interface with a lot of people. So we see a lot of this. Okay, now building and exhibiting your high-level professionalism. I mentioned earlier that one thing that you're going to be carrying with you the rest of your career is branding. Now, this branding, you could work on it and say, I'm always going to try to be as honest as possible. I'm always going to be a team player. Well, all of a sudden that follows you, where when you move up the ladder and you move into management, into directorship, into CIO, people are going to say, Mary is a great team player, and I love working with Mary. Okay, and that branding will follow her. But remember, all the positives can be wiped out by one bad thing. If Mary, and hopefully there's no Marys out there, if Mary tells a lie to her group, just a bold-faced lie, they catch her on it, that could wipe out a lot. And all of a sudden, Mary now is branded as a person that's not trustworthy. So you really want to, have this branding follow you. Build alliances both inside and outside of IT. Remember, as we move up the corporate ladder, we're more business people, versus technical people. So I may have been a great programmer and got me to a certain level. Then I became a supervisor or lead tech. Then I went into management. Well, as I move up there, I kind of let go of my technical skills and I start building up my business and managerial skills. So building these alliances both inside my IT organization, outside with my business partners, and even going to trade shows, going to organizations that have to do with my industry, getting to know people. You build up these alliances. You build up this trust with other people. You want to expand your IT and business knowledge. Really underline business here. In my experience in the IT organizations, the ones that progressed the fastest was the ones that they understood the technology and how to use it, but they really understand how the business people use the technology. So they could look at data flow analysis and say, from order entry all the way to producing a product and shipping, knowing that stream of data and how it impacts people. Very, very important. And Be active in your industry. You know, if you're a manager for a hospital's IT department, go to a lot of the trade shows around hospitals. If you're in that industry, know about the compliances that you have to deal with every day. So you really, again, a lot of hard work here, guys, but you really want to expand your knowledge of going from the technical into the business world. And the more you know about business and the more you're aware of your emotional intelligence, the more it's going to help you grow up the ladder or get up the ladder and become a CIO. Now, if you think about this, this may sound like an ode attributes of successful people or their resiliency. Now, very few have everything that goes right. So developing a thick skin, learning from our mistakes, and forgiving yourself. You know, so many people will take on something, they fail, and they beat themselves up. Oh, I should have done this, I should have done that. Put on a different hat and say, how could I do better next time? You know, if we look at the third bullet here, now the professional journey, and it really is a journey. There's really no end to this. You could lose a job. It had nothing to do with your performance. Just a couple bad quarters, company starts laying off, and you get hit. Or they decide to eliminate one level, you get hit. It's not really your fault, but you might think about how can I make myself skillful enough? How can I make myself marketable enough? So if I do lose a job, I find another one quickly. Failing at important tasks. Now again, all of us forget things. All of us, may do a project and realize, if I would have done this or spoke to an end user a little bit better, would have had a more successful project. You learn from it. You go forward. Next time you won't make that mistake. And not getting that big promotion. Maybe there was two of us up for it and Jill got it and I didn't. Ask yourself why, or maybe ask your manager, what did Jill have that I didn't? And find out maybe Jill had her MBA or Jill had maybe another year's experience in the business world. Jill knows the applications really well, the flow of data. So I may have to, find out why I did it, but all this is about learning. Within our organization, especially in the high-tech world, we never stop learning or become stagnant. When we become stagnant, we die. So what we want to do is constantly learn by our mistakes, constantly, not make them a second time, and then go forward. And again, don't beat yourself up too bad. I can think back on my career, especially when I was a lot younger, doing something and just beat myself up for months at a time saying, oh, if I would have done this or if I would have done that. Don't beat yourself up. Just learn from it and go forward. Okay, picking an industry. Now, I had this student that I worked with not too long ago. Loved his company, but didn't care for the industry. He worked in Massachusetts, and he produced firearms. And for him, he says, I just don't feel right producing firearms. He says, I love my people, I like my company, but this is just not the role for me. So eventually, he moved on to a nonprofit. And for him, working for a nonprofit was the perfect place for him. And so he found the industry just right. Now, as a CIO, as I mentioned this earlier, you're giving up your technical knowledge. Now, you still are aware of technical issues out there, big data, some of the things that the industry is going through right now. Bring your own device to work. All those things you have to be aware of. But you put them in a different perspective, and you put them around more of a business knowledge. What do I need to know from a business standpoint? Bring your own device to work. How does that impact my technical people, but how does it impact my users, the people who use the applications? What levels of security do I need to set up for when you start bringing your own device to work? And remember, you want to be a business person first. You probably get tired of me saying this, but you really want to focus on the users and the business side and the applications, and become a technologist second. I know it took me a long time, and I really struggled with giving up my knowledge as an engineer. I worked a lot on Ethernet early on. Giving that up to go into management, thinking, boy, I'm giving up the one thing that is my security blanket. One thing I'm really good at, though it's going to be promoted. People think of me doing this. Giving that up and going into business, well, it was a big change, and it didn't happen overnight. But we really want to focus ourselves on the business side of the house. How do we do that? If we're not take courses, work with mentors, spend more time with our end users, spend more time with the management of the applications, working with these people to learn. Have the ability to assist in corporate strategy and directions. Once we start giving up the tactical every day and start looking at the strategic, then all of a sudden we're starting to move up the ladder. You know, a lot of great managers out there, and I talk to them a lot, they're very good at making decisions daily on how we should run things technically. But if you ask them, well, where do you want your group to be in a year or 2 years? They're so busy firefighting every day and putting out just the pressure of this is going wrong, fix it. So it's more break fix than they are looking at where do I want to take the IT group a year from now, 2 years from now. Once you start thinking strategically, you're invited to more meetings, you're working at a higher level, you start thinking, I'm helping my company grow, not just putting out fires every day. Learning to wear many hats. I love this picture here. You're a utility provider. You know, you're keeping the lights on. You're break fix. You're fixing things, bugs as they come in from the field. You're a service provider. You know, the help desk, 24 by 7. You got people answering questions about your application and keeping the lights on. You're a builder. You know, as an IT professional, new projects, you know, cloud computing, big data. You know, you're looking at the infrastructure. Are we going to add 100 people? How do we support, you know, that when it comes about? I was watching TV this morning with my wife, and, you know, they were saying that for the Christmas season, some of these big companies are, you know, bringing in thousands of people for the Christmas season. And my first thought was, the IT department, what if everyone had an email address? Now, maybe some of these people don't even sit down at the computer, but there still needs to be, you know, through HR to have the benefits and their names and their paychecks. And how does that affect the IT department? Could be huge. Okay, you're an innovator. Manager comes to you and says, you know, Fred, I think that, you know, we've been running waterfall project management methodology for years. I went to a seminar, I learned about Agile, I want to do Agile. And Fred goes, oh, you know, and then, you know, because now all of a sudden Fred has to learn about it, how do we implement the pros, the cons, and so forth. So you're an innovator. Someone comes to you and says, you know, we got too much inventory tied up in Dell computers. What I want to do is support bring your own device to work. Bring your own cell phone to work. One company I work with just north of here, they're allowing people to bring their own applications to work. Now, these are doctors that are used to this one particular, you know, application. So when they come in and they join the hospital, they got their own tablet, and they said, and by the way, here's the application I'm going to be running. You know, make sure you support it. So all of a sudden now, from an IT perspective, you're an innovator. You're bringing in big data, bring your own device to work, cloud computing. All these things are new, so you have to stay on top of it, technically as well as business. How does it impact my business? Now, I'll give an example here. Someone comes up to you and says, by the way, we bought an application, it runs on the cloud, and no, we no longer need your IT department. Now, they can do this. You know, if they can sign the contract, they can log on to this URL and run this application all the time. So as a technologist, as an innovator, I may sit down with them and say, I don't want to lose you as a customer. Let's work together, you know, to make sure this is done right, to make sure we have a good, smooth transformation between the old and the new. How technology can be driven for a competitive advantage. You know, let's face it, all of us either sell a service or sell a product or provide a service. Even if we work for a government, we're providing a service. So we must be competitive. So how do we become more competitive? We become more strategic. We become more business-like. And unfortunately, the political side of the house. Um, a lot of us, again, coming from an engineering world, maybe weren't trained on politics, and it's something we were thrown into, and we had to learn to swim. Again, swim with the sharks. So as IT professionals, especially in today's, we're really looking at, we have to wear a lot of different hats. Understanding IT and the megatrends. There's a lot of things happening out there, and they're happening very quickly. Um, business trends tend to be industry experience, based on what experience I have on there. IT trends that are currently out there. Cloud computing. You know, this is, in fact, we have one class that we teach all in cloud computing. And it's really, is it cost effective? Is it technically correct? How will it support my due diligence when it comes to security? How does it conform to data governance within my organization? So cloud computing, huge. Big data. How do I take all this mammoth data out there and analyze it to give me the information I need to make good business decisions? Whether it be watching social media, to look at that, how do I support mobility? I'm sitting here looking at my new Samsung S6, thinking that has more computing power than computers I worked on not too long ago. And how do we bring that into the corporate world and support all the applications we have today? And to make sure that that information is not getting out into the wrong hands. How do I take social media, like Facebook? How do I bring that into my marketing department and make good business decisions based on comments out there or surveys through some type of social media? Digital transformation, 3D printing, which is huge. Now, I got to tell you, I didn't know this next word until I had to look it up. Eric told me about it, the guy who invented the course, and I said, I'll look into that. And he says, well, take a look, and you're going to find out it really is a combination of physical marketing and social media or digital. So if we look at this, we look at using any of the social media tools out there in conjunction with maybe some hardcore material, combining that together to give me the information I want to keep me competitive. Cloud-based shadowing IT. So if we need data backup and recovery. So are we backing up everything that we do locally? Rather than putting our servers inside the building, are we going into the cloud, maybe with Amazon or Google, and putting all our data out there as a backup, shadowing everything we do? Because if we lose physical connection, if we lose things at our home office, everything's back up to the cloud. Now, I really like this next one here. If you don't know these trends, you're not reading enough. To me, keeping up with the IT industry, keeping up with the business you're in, keeping up with the industry that you're specializing in is almost a 24/7 job. And it really requires, as you move up the ladder, more and more research, more learning, and you really have to find the time to do this as you go up and still retain a good work-life balance. Understand some of the methodologies out there. ITIL. This is something that's really the IT library. This is something more and more IT departments are looking at as far as how do I implement a good service level strategy for my customers. And ITIL, 3-4 years ago, you heard very little about it. Every class I teach now, this is a major topic that we talk about. There's a lot of good ITIL certification out there. So if your organization is looking at it or maybe already starting at level 1 with it, you might look at some certifications around ITIL. Agile and Scrum. I'm kind of partial to this one. I did waterfall project management for 20 years, I guess. And I did an Agile project when I was at Fidelity Investment. Fell in love with Agile. It just, the DNA matched my DNA. Became certified as an Agile project manager, did a lot of Scrum. So those are the technologies, again, easy to understand, hard to implement in your company because there's a lot of things that get in the way, corporate politics, corporate culture, and so forth. Waterfalls. Something that's been around for 70 years, works well, always will be around for, the next 70 years. Lean. Looking at that technology that says, how do I continuously improve? Looking at the processes that I have out there and asking myself, how can I improve the processes to make it better? And some of the others out there, again, some of the big data, the cloud computing, and so forth. Tips that will help you get there. I love this picture here. Managing up. Now, you might think of yourself as managing up. Some people it's kissing up. Well, it's not really. It's, are you promotable? You think of yourself, is the brand that I put out, the success that I've done, the social intelligence that I have, does that make me promotable? And does that make me different than my competition? You may be at a manager's level right now, and you're dealing with an organization, there's 10 other managers at your level. We have one opening for a director. So your competition is 9 other people out there. Am I promotable? So it's not just kissing up to your manager. It's really, do you have the skill set, the experience, the social skills to move me up to the next ladder? And a lot of that is going to be soft skills, it's going to be business knowledge, and how much effort have you put into your career to get to that next step. Okay? Be upbeat, positive, glass, if it's always half full, much better than half. Take the risk, and take the risk knowing that if you fail, you've learned something. You're always going to learn from failure. I tell people that, people who work for me over the years, don't be afraid to stick your neck out, because you're going to learn something. You're always going to learn something. And when you do that, you won't make it the second time, and you're going to be more successful over the long run. Anyone makes some mistakes now and again, it's all about the attitude. It really is. Now, all of us have had people work for us and with us that are everything is wrong, the glass is half empty, I can't do that, I'll fail again. Those aren't the kind of people we promote. Those aren't the kind of people we want to actually work around for a long period of time. They bring down the group. We want the people that are willing to take the chance, upbeat, good positive attitude, make a mistake. Hey, I made an honest mistake. I've learned from it. Next time I won't make it. Tips. Don't criticize. Always learn. I got to say, I'm going to pat myself on the back just for a second here and say that I try to learn something new every night. YouTube has helped me a lot. I'll log on and learn something just so obscure, that I know I'll never ever use, but I learned something new. And in the industry, I'm constantly looking at trade rags. I'm reading blogs. I'm talking to customers that are doing it. So I'm always looking for that. And the one thing I don't want to do is constantly criticize. I've had managers I've worked for in the past that all they did was put you down. And after a while, you don't want to work with them. How do I go into every day when I'm going to be beat up? So I don't want to work with them. Don't be that kind of manager. Be the kind of manager that's supportive, that you're always looking for the good. And part of your vocabulary is going to be, Mary, what did you learn from your experience? So many times we have these lessons learned at the end of a project or end of a session, and we never follow through with them. So let's get to the point where as managers we ask them, what did you learn from this? What's your takeaway? What's the nugget that you have that you won't make next time? Take the high road. Politicking, backstabbing. We talked about that branding. That will follow you. I knew a guy at a high-tech company in Massachusetts I worked with. He would step on anyone. He would throw you under the bus just so he would look good. Well, today, no one will hire this guy. He works for one company because he's working for a good friend of his, but no one wants to work with him. No one wants to work for him. No one works around him because of this branding, because he just stepped on everybody and backstabbed everyone to get up to the certain level. So he will never be promoted any higher than that because no one wants him. So think of yourself. Take the high road, even if it means you're demoted, even if it means you may lose a job even. I had this one guy, he actually threw himself under the bus and said, I take the responsibility. And he got laid off, but 6 months later he had a job, and some of the people that used to work for him went right over to this new company to follow him because he always took the high road. He always took the positive way of doing things. Um, I love this last one here. Professional friends come and go. Enemies accumulate. So that branding, negative branding, is just as important not to do as keeping positive branding. Know your priorities. Every day when you get up, take a look and make a list of what do I have to do today, and what's the highest priority? What's job number one? And you could do it with your personal life as well as your professional life. Sit down when you get in work, cup of coffee or tea, make a list of things you have to do today, and prioritize them. What's the most important thing I have to do today? And make sure you're working with your people is one of the top things on the list. Learn to hire good people. As I said earlier, for me, give me a person that is very socially aware over someone that's just intelligence. The Sheldons of the world will come and go. They'll have their 15 minutes of technical fame and then they'll go away. But someone that has a good positive attitude, that works well with others as a team, especially if you're moving from a waterfall project management methodology to Agile and Scrum, it's all about teamwork and collaboration and communications. And the companies I go out and coach with, the companies I go out and consult with, I'm seeing a lot more of, we want people that can communicate. We want people that will know how we communicate and can collaborate to make successful projects. So I see that all the time. Illustrate your decision-making ability. Don't be one of these managers that sit there and go, well, if I wait long enough, it will go away, or, I'm really afraid to make because what if I'm wrong? Hey, if you're wrong, you're wrong. You learn from your mistake and you move forward. So you really also want to take the strategic step of enhancing your departmental productivity. Think strategic. Where do I want my IT department to be a year from now? Maybe a year from now we'll be fully scrummed on most of our projects. Maybe we're looking at cloud computing for our email system. Maybe we're going to get rid of a lot of the old homegrown applications and go with, third-party standard applications. Look at this productivity and say, how can I make my organization a better IT department? Increase your project success rate. Learn by your mistakes. Change the process. I was with this one company, and they were so, in fact, I can't say they, a manager was so hung up on the process that he really didn't look at the product or the people. He was so hung up on the project or the process because he made it. That's how he would grade you. Did you follow my process? And frankly, it wasn't a very good process. So don't be afraid to be very lean, changing processes, always looking at ways to increase the productivity of your department. And frankly, open and honest communications is going to save you a lot of headaches in the past. So I'm going to tell you about some future seminars coming up, and then I'd like Brian to maybe open the line, any questions you might have. I'd be more than glad to address those. We have today's seminar, How to Become a CIO. December 4th, the Steve Jobs is coming up. December 14th, cloud computing, big data. That's going to be a great one. Both of those are fantastic. And then December 8th, 9th, and 10th, a nice seminar on certification prep for the ITMLP. 3 days full of some great nuggets for the IT management. So, Brian, I want to turn it back over to you and see if we have any questions or comments out there.
Okay. Yeah, if anyone has any questions, please make sure to put those in the chat box on the bottom right corner, and we can go ahead and fill those questions. I know a few people had put questions in the question box. Somebody said, what is the certification name again for what you were discussing, how to become a CIO?
Oh, there's a bunch of good certifications out there. Some of the ones that is the ITMLP, the ITMLE are both taught from New Horizons. Great certifications for managements and IT organizations. For project management, if you do a lot of project management, the PMP, which is Project Management Professional from the Project Management Institute. The one I have, which is ACP, which is Agile Certified Practitioner. That's a project management for Agile. There's some good ones around Scrum. So these are all good business ones to have to help you promote and give more, visibility. Hopefully, Brian, that answered the question.
It looks like it did, yeah. If anybody else has any other questions, put them in the chat box and we can go ahead and ask Phil. Give it a few more seconds here, see if anybody starts typing. Okay, I don't see anything coming in, so I want to thank everyone for their time, and I also want to thank Phil. We really appreciate Phil taking time out of his day to present this for us and to provide you guys with this webinar. And thanks a lot, Phil, and thank you again, everybody who attended. We really do appreciate your time, and we look forward to seeing you on the next webinar.
Take care, guys. Have a great week.